Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
It is August. That's the blueprint.
Yeah!
Jason Lloyd wrote for the
The
world.
one copy that's been sold.
We have found it. Tyvis has purchased it. He brought it in. Jason signed it this morning. It was a dream come true moment for Tyvis Powell. And Jason, would you like to read what you wrote?
I wrote, Tyvis, thanks for all the laughs. P.S. Welcome to the media.
This is not.
Because you are a media
I'm not a media member.
100%
First
a
of
media
all, it is great that you put that in there, so it's gonna give me a nice laugh. Although I'm not a media member
You
at
are
all. Like
1,000%
I will never be labeled a media member.
Yeah, because you said this. Athletes don't want to be considered media because you all think you all are up here and we're down here.
No.
Yes,
No,
yes,
that's not
that
the
is
case.
exactly
That's what
it.
you just said.
That's
That's not what I
exactly
said. I said it's a stigma that comes with being a media member. I just think it is.
Because you think you're up here and we're down here.
No. Listen, I was nice to the media members every time.
You would have been.
Every
I would have
chance I
loved
had.
covering you. I would have loved covering you.
We just sat there and just talked.
Sean Dunnigan, who sends us all the video, works upstairs, great dude. Worked with Tyvis when you were at
Channel
Ohio
T-
State
yeah, I was at
in
Channel
Columbus.
10.
He was Sean's intern, right?
Yeah, he taught me how to work the camera.
And Sean said he was the best intern he ever had. So
I believe it.
yeah,
See?
and
I
no
believe it.
surprise.
I love the video.
I've had a conversation with James Jones when he played here. He's now the GM of the
Suns.
Phoenix Suns. But
Okay.
when JJ was here, we used to have these conversations about like the relationship between athlete and media and all that. And he said like, hey, let's be honest. We need each other because we need you guys to tell our stories. You guys obviously need us.
Mm-hmm.
We need you. And if it wasn't for you, then we would walk around all the time thinking how great we are and telling everyone how wonderful we are. We need you guys to kind of bring the truth and the reality of the situation.
I think that's changed though with social media.
Well,
so
it's
many
changed
player
with
podcasts,
podcasts,
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera.
Now they can go out there and tell you how wonderful they are.
Yeah, well, you gotta play the game now because at the end of the day, they're gonna just check my podcast. You know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know. Like
And some of the player podcasts are really good.
And they're great. And I have
some
like
are not, but some are really, really good.
who don't you like? Because like the only big names I know is like
Paul George.
Draymond, Paul George.
Draymond is entertaining. The distorted reality of some of the situations Draymond talks about in his own eyes is absurd.
and that's what JJ was getting at in that conversation that we had. But I love the player podcast. Like I'm not offended at all. I think it's great. Like bring it on. Tell us what you think.
We would love to chat more and wait to get into the real show, but we had some breaking news out of Greenbrier this morning. As of 15 minutes ago, give or take, Mary Kay, Cabot, and the rest of the reporters down in the Greenbrier have tweeted that Deontay Foreman, the running back the Browns signed this offseason, has been immobilized and taken off the field on a board after injuring something during the kickoff drill. There have been since videos that have been tweeted out of Foreman being carted off. His leg, it appears from these videos, completely stabilized. We have no more extent on the injury, how it happened, whether it's a knee, an ankle, a shin. We have no idea. All we know is Deontay Foreman, the running back the Browns signed this offseason to hopefully fill some of the workload that Nick Chubb was leaving behind. If he's not healthy, is now being carted off the field. And Tyvis, Jason, you know, there's always going to be injuries during training camp. You hope they're not severe. This one appears to be of the severe nature. But if it is something that is going to keep Foreman out for a extended period of time into the regular season, Tyvis, how much of a loss is that, considering we just don't know if Nick Chubb will be ready week 1 or not?
I mean, I think it's a big loss because of the role that you thought he was going to play. You know, we don't have to rush Nick Chubb back because we got a guy who's been an NFL starter, who's had a workload, who's been very productive in this league. He was with Deuce Staley when he was with the Panthers,
Correct.
I think, and he was having a really good season under him. So, you know, to me, you know, where the Browns go from here is obviously they got to look at the free agent market because they got to have somebody to fill that role, you know, that short yardage, goal line situation, and another guy that can take some carries off, just somebody that's not rushing Nick Chubb to come back, you know. And I don't know what that looks like right now. I haven't looked at the running back free agent market in a while, but I think it's a loss for sure. I think that the Browns can bounce back from this depending on the fact how they want to construct their offense. We know that they want to become more of a pass-happy team. So from that standpoint, you still got Jerome Ford that catches well, Nyheim Hines that catches well out of the backfield. So I think you'll be
still
fine.
Have Pierre Strong, too.
Yeah, you still got Pierre Strong. So you still got guys. But when it comes to that bully, that tough grit, got to get that 1 yard guy. Without Nick Chubb, you kind of don't have that guy right now.
So that makes me have to ask Jason. Last year,
I knew you
Kareem
were
Hunt,
wrong.
you called him
I
a
knew you
tricycle.
were
Does this open the door to bring back Kareem Hunt to Cleveland?
I mean, what are we down to now? A unicycle? Is Dalvin Cook signed?
Dalvin Cook is still on the market, to my knowledge, right? Earl, Dalvin Cook is one of those names you just named. Dalvin Cook still a
Dalvin
free
Cook
agent.
is one of those names.
Yeah, so Dalvin Cook's out there. Matt Breida, another name out there.
Breida the Cheetah.
At least he played with Tyvus. Kareem Hunt's not the only name available.
I would be
but
surprised if it was Kareem.
would.
I'd be really surprised. But I think you got to call Dalvin Cook right now, right? I mean, that's the first name that I just was trying to do a quick glance to see if he was still out there. But I mean, it's devastating for Deontay Foreman. Zach Jackson tweeted that he went right to the ambulance, and the ambulance went right off the field. So
You want some names? Damian Harris, Matt Breida, Kareem Hunt, Latavius Murray, Jerick McKinnon, hey, Jet, Marlon Mack, Josh Keeley, Deion Jackson.
It's not a great crop of running backs.
No,
still
I mean,
out
it's
there.
August.
There's a reason they're unsigned
Yeah.
at the moment.
Yeah.
But, to your point, it seems like he got immediately taken to the hospital. When that happens, it's usually an injury of the utmost severity, and all of us here at UCS hoping for a speedy recovery for Deontay. They brought him here with the thought that if Nick Chubb's out, we have a guy that can fill in as an RB1 for not the whole season, but for some length of time, and we feel pretty good about him, especially, as Tyvus mentioned, with his ties to Deuce Staley, understanding the offense. And if he's not, and Nick Chubb isn't ready, you're looking at a running back stable that's currently constructed of Jerome Ford, Nyheim Hines, and Pierre Strong.
I mean, like I say, if the offense is changing, I know Kevin is still calling the plays, but we also know that Ken Dorsey is putting a heavy spin of emphasis of his offense, which is we think it's probably going to be more of a spread. If you don't know what the spread is, that's like four outside
wide.
receivers. Yeah, three receivers, one tight end, one running back in the backfield, kind of in the shotgun a lot. If he's going with that, like I said, Jerome Ford made some plays last year. Some of his best plays came out of that spread. Pierre Strong, all these guys seem like they can adjust well to that. But only time you'll be missed is, like I said, them short yardage, goal line situations, the Kareem Hunt special. But I'm with Jason. I don't think Kareem's coming back, because if he does, I got a bet with Jay Crawford. And I said that I don't think he's getting signed again. I forget what we bet on it, but yeah, I don't want to lose that bet either.
How quickly are they making that phone call, Jason? Not necessarily to Hunt, but to any free agent running back.
Oh, they're looking
Is
at
this
the
an
list.
immediate call right now?
Yeah, I'm sure they're looking at the list this afternoon. We should get more. I mean, I don't know how much more information, but practice should be about over. They pushed everything up, I'm guessing, for bad weather.
9:30 was the start of practice.
Yeah, they're going a lot earlier today than what they were anticipating. There's no place to go. If it rains, you're kind of stuck there. So there's no real indoor facility, obviously. So you got to kind of play with the weather. So I would think that they will be talking, although Kevin talked pre-practice, so he won't talk post.
I think he's doing both, I saw today.
Is he?
I think he's doing both.
Okay, well, that would help if he does both.
So it was only like a 5-minute real quick update, who's in, who's out of practice presser for Kevin today.
Okay. He's not going to have any information, obviously. But we're going to have to wait on this. But I would imagine as soon as they get off the practice field, they're going to start looking at the names and calling agents and seeing who's out there. Because obviously this looks significant.
You got a game next week, camp still this week. Even for practice reasons, you still got to have.
Bodies.
Yeah, you just got to have it right now. So yeah, somebody should be signed. We're probably in the next 48 to 72 hours.
Earl, what say you about the Deontay Foreman injury?
A couple things on that. What's the chances that actually Joshua Kelly, get some extended opportunities? I know he's a guy that's been around during training camp for seems like several years now. But as I'm looking at, running backs, I think we can't rule out the fact that Andrew Berry can still trade a late round draft pick this year or next year for a running back. This might be a long shot, but a guy who used to be here signed a 1-year contract with Jacksonville this offseason, Dearness Johnson. I don't think that will cost you a lot, but just another name to throw out there that if we ever get to that point, somebody that's familiar with the city and with the team.
What does Jacksonville's running back depth chart look like real quick? And Ty, while he's looking up that, what did Josh Kelly? I mean, he's been in the system.
You mean John Kelly?
John Kelly, excuse me.
Josh
Yeah,
Kelly is the running back from the Chargers.
John Kelly, who's been in the system, played at Tennessee, been in the system, been on the practice squad.
Yeah, John Kelly would be a guy that, they trust. He would come in, they know what they're going to get out of him. He's not going to be like an every down back. And it's not like the person that they're going to go get is going to be the starter. Like that's not what they're looking for right now. They still believe that Nick Chubb will be back earlier than later in this season. They just need somebody to, get them there, get them to Nick Chubb being back right now. So the guys that they will go get, to me, would be like a John Kelly, a guy that's been in the program. You know what you're going to get. He's been around this team. He can go in there and get you some of the running back yards that you may need, take some hits off of Jerome Ford or Pierre Strong or Nyheim Hines. And that's a guy that is kind of physical. I don't think he's that big in size, but he still does play a physical style of game. So those would be the guys that they would look to.
Earl mentioned Dearness Johnson is third on the Jaguars running back depth chart behind Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby, who was their third-round pick last year. I'm not sure how open they are to trading a third-string running back at this point, but certainly not completely out of the question.
See, my thing with Dearness was, when he was here, Dearness was really good. He's a really good running back, but the problem is that's all he was. He
didn't play
special teams was not his thing. And if you're going to trade a pick for a guy that's just a running back, well, what happens when Nick Chubb does come back? What happens if Jerome Ford is that guy? Now you're looking at a guy that's going to be a third-string guy that's going to be inactive again because he doesn't provide you any special teams depth. So that's been Dearness's problem, is that he hasn't been effective on special teams. If he was on special teams, he'd probably still be here.
Pierre Strong, great special teamser.
Yeah, Nyheim Hines, great returner.
Great returner. So those guys bring that element to the game that a guy like Dearness may not. Jason, last thought on
Well, just real
Foreman?
quick, Zach just tweeted that there's a helicopter now coming to take Deontay Foreman. So this is going from concerning to very concerning. Ambulance carrying Deontay Foreman pulled away from the practice field but is still in the parking lot. A helicopter is landing now to take Foreman to the hospital. And I don't think they're out in the middle of nowhere, but there are still hospitals that are relatively close by. But that's obviously, if he's going by helicopter, that's very concerning.
And Mary Kay tweeted that all the Browns players formed a prayer circle as he was placed on the ambulance from the stretcher. So seriously, and a very serious situation happening at the Greenbrier right now as the Browns try and wrap up practice. Who had a statement?
Browns statement on the injury. Zach Jackson just tweeted this. During practice today, Browns running back Deontay Foreman sustained a direct blow to the head that resulted in neck pain. Browns athletic training staff deployed their standard emergency action procedures to immobilize Foreman. He was taken to an ambulance and is being transported via helicopter to a medical center in Roanoke, Virginia, to undergo further medical evaluation. Foreman had movement in all his extremities. Updates will be provided as more information is received.
So not a leg injury.
No, not a leg
head
injury. Head injury. Movement obviously is great in all extremities. They're very close to the Virginia border there, where the facility is. But going by helicopter, I know nothing about. I don't know if this is a special
Roanoke has
center.
a good hospital. That's right outside where Virginia Tech is. It's a pretty good hospital.
Yeah. So there you go.
All right, Earl, you want to do a read and we'll get into the other topics we had planned for today?
Absolutely. Next segment is brought to you by FanDuel. As always, man, I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
All right, guys, yesterday the Cavs made a move. Well, they didn't bring anyone in. They didn't trade anyone out. But they did give Jarrett Allen a 3-year, $91 million extension, which now ties him to the Cleveland Cavaliers for the next 5 years at $131 million in total the next 2 seasons. So this season and next season, he's making his $20 million annually, which was from his previous contract. Then the 3 seasons after that, 2026, 2027, 27, 28, and 28, 29. He's making $30.3 million on an annual average basis. Tyvis, Jason, when you saw the news, what was the first thought that ran through your mind now as the Cavs have locked in their core together for the at least foreseeable future, Jason?
Well, I have ADD, so my thoughts go all over the place. My very first thought was doubling down on the 2 big lineup. My second thought was, oh, and if that doesn't work, they can easily trade this contract. And my third thought was, and if it does work, they are sailing directly into the winds that the NBA is trying to prevent from happening. They will have, if Jarrett's here for the duration of this contract, if he's, let's say he's here in year 3, whatever, they're going to have 4 players on max deals.
Well, Jarrett's not a max deal.
The 30, I thought it was a max, was it not?
No. It's the 8th highest annual average salary. Anthony Davis.
All right, see, that's what you get from me coming home from vacation last night.
Yeah, it's not a max deal. No.
So he's going to be making, what is it, 30? All right,
It's 30 million. It's the 8th highest annual average for a center. It's about half of what Anthony Davis makes, which is a max.
See, I thought he was getting a max.
No, not
I literally was driving home from the beach last night.
We talked on the phone right after this happened, and
Yeah.
you were driving home from the beach. I can't confirm, but it is not a max deal.
But you're still going to have 3 guys on a max deal and a 4th guy making
30 million, yes.
to where they're going to be into the apron conversation now.
I told you yesterday, in the first year where the extension kicks in, their starting 5, Garland, Mitchell, Strus, Mobley, Allen, will be costing the Cavs $175 million, just the starting 5. The first apron of the luxury tax that year and the projected salary cap projections from Spotrac is $187 million that year. They're $12 million under with 5 guys from the first apron.
So the key in all this is obviously the second apron. And the one thing that the NBA has done, we've talked about on the show, once you hit second apron status, they strip you of abilities to remake your roster.
Can't trade picks, can't sign buyout guys. It's extremely difficult to trade.
So if you get to the second apron and you have holes, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
So what the Cavs, from it looks to me, what the Cavs are doing is they're trying to assemble their entire roster before they get into, or at least have the foundation of something in place before they get to second apron stat. And we're talking 2-3 years down the road. Like, this is not for next year. This is for into the future. But they want all of these pieces already in place, because once you hit those thresholds in the tax, it's very difficult, and the Phoenix Suns are going through this now. It's very difficult to remake your roster on the fly. So you better have your house in order when you get there.
I had a different first thought, but I want to hear, Tyvis, what you thought.
Well, my first thought is I thought of Jason Lloyd. That's him telling me, well, yeah, the Cavaliers really believe that they're there. They think that they got it with this core 4. And I don't think that they're going to trade anybody. That's what I thought about. And I was like, dang it, he was right. Like, you know what, though? I think that when I looked at it, I said they truly are taking the Celtics motto, where the Celtics have thought they've had the 2 guys all along, and no matter what the outside noise was, they truly believe that they had 2 guys that can take them there, and they just needed to tweak it just a little bit. They just need something just to tweak a little bit, and they was there. And I think that that's where this Cavs organization is. They feel like these 4 is really good, and they're there, but it's just one little piece that we missing that can really make this thing go to the championship. And I think they're committed to just trying to find that one little tweak, whether that's Strus or maybe it's Jalen Tyson or somebody like that. I don't know. But to me, they are committed to the core 4 no matter what, and they want to see this thing through.
So my first thought, I really had 2 first thoughts, and I did a whole Ultimate Cavs stream, just a real quick 10-minute one yesterday. You can see the in-depth thoughts if you want to go check that out. But first and foremost, in today's NBA, with the market value of how centers are getting paid, $30 million average for Jarrett Allen is another great contract. He was on arguably one of the best contracts in basketball with his 5-year, $100 million deal, and this 3-year, $30 million extension is a increase in pay, but right in line with where Jarrett Allen should be getting paid. These are the top 10 centers in annual average value per year. You ready for this? And you tell me if you think where Jarrett Allen falls in is in the right spot. Anthony Davis, Number 1, $58.4 million. Jokic second, $55.2. Bam third, $55.1. Cat, $55 million. Embiid, $53.3. Significant drop-off. Then you have number 6, Gobert, $41 million. DeAndre Ayton, $33 million. Jarrett Allen, 8th at $30 million. Hartenstein, 9th at $29 million. And then Nick Claxton at $25 million next. So
I would have put him above maybe 1 or 2
in front of Ayton, but it's right in the right range. Like he's getting
I'd
paid.
put him above Ayton for sure, and probably Gobert, maybe.
So 1 or 2, but he's right in the right range of where he should be getting paid.
Got
So
the player of the year.
yeah,
So,
but whatever. He's in the right range. Ayton signed the contract a year earlier, and he, in theory, he signed the max earlier. This wasn't the max deal, so he's getting paid his fair value. I look at this from 2 different perspectives. On the one hand, if Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley prove they can work together under Kenny Atkinson's system, you now have a valuable center who's a top 10 center in today's NBA on a very reasonable contract for the next 5 years. And if it doesn't work and you come to the conclusion that Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley can't fit together in the front court, you now have a player on a long-term deal at a very reasonable price who has more trade value today than he did yesterday before the extension. Because on that contract, he just naturally has more value to the team he would be going to than if he was an expiring contract the following season. It feels like the Cavs are doubling down that all their issues last year were coaching and not personnel. It was a coaching issue. It wasn't a roster issue. That's with all these moves and these extensions, keeping the core four together, not making any extremity moves to improve the roster on the fringes. It looks like Kobe Altman in the front office is saying this was a JB problem, not a roster construction problem. And Kenny Atkinson, you're going to get at least till the trade deadline, if not a full season, to see who fits together, who works in your system, who doesn't. And now we have contracts that are more palatable to trade, especially if we're going to go big fish hunting. It's a lot easier to pair Jarrett Allen at $30 million plus a Niang or a LeVert or someone else to reach those other max salaries than it is when Jarrett Allen's making just $20 million a year.
But you can't trade him because Donovan said that he want him to be here. So
Well, Donovan's going to get a front row view to see how these players fit into the system. And if they don't fit, you got to make moves.
Donovan said that Jarrett Allen's going nowhere. So
Is that an unfair assessment, Jason? That
No, I think they are saying out loud without saying it, Kenny's going to fix this, Kenny Atkinson. And we'll see.
Well, they ain't got no choice.
We'll see. They still don't have a playmaking dominant wing at the most important position in the game. So they're still playing a little bit backwards, which is the way this is constructed. We'll give them a chance. We'll see what Kenny Atkinson can do. They have not hid the fact that they're going to put the ball in Evan Mobley's hands. You can change the offense, make him more of a focal point in a larger piece, and we'll see if it works. And if it does, they've got their foundation in place.
Yeah.
Were you surprised by this move at all? Like, did it catch you off guard that they did give him the extension?
I was surprised from Jarrett's standpoint at first because with 2 years left, I thought he would wait until he had 1 year left to re-up just because of the more money on the back end. But then I talked to our cap guy. I just texted him real quick last night, and he said it really wouldn't have made that much of a difference. So I guess it's one of those moves that in hindsight, it makes sense to do it, especially because Jarrett, the Cavs were thrilled to get him on the first deal. It was a straight 5-year, $100 million, $20 million a year. No kickers, no options, no trades, nothing like that.
Turned into one of the best contracts in basketball.
It was just a straight contract. And he's very easygoing.
Yep.
And obviously it was easy to get another deal done. And, I mean, listen, we have to point out the story that we wrote after the Boston series about
The
shot and everything else. Obviously, there were people that we spoke to within the organization that were frustrated with him. But clearly it did not rise to the level of being willing to commit to him long term.
Well, I think for him, don't you think that this would have been the perfect time for him to negotiate the deal? Because now that Kenny's coming in here, his offensive numbers may go down because of his role. You don't know how it's going to affect him, his numbers.
Well, he's not a guy you ever run offense through. You're never going to run a play for Jarrett Allen. But I hear what you're saying. But they're not paying him for what he provides on the offensive end. Like he's one of the cleanup guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cleanup guy around the basket. He's going to get putbacks, rebounds, putbacks, dump-offs. But you're not going to run anything through him. His presence is on the defensive side.
They need to run something through in the offense. The teams are never expecting.
Well, that's the one caveat to this deal. I'm not surprised they did it because it makes sense from both sides. It's a team-friendly deal for the Cavs, and it makes sense for Jarrett Allen to get your money, get paid, get that locked in.
Selfish.
It's not selfish because he didn't take the max.
That's true.
He actually
You're right.
he definitely cannot be considered selfish in this case. But when the Cavs gave Evan Mobley that rookie max extension, Jason, you and I hopped on the show. We talked about, well, hey, Kenny Atkinson, he said it without saying it. He actually went out there and said it and said, I was kind of brought here to help Evan Mobley reach superstar status.
Yeah.
And after seeing the Boston series and just knowing how the modern NBA works, there are legitimate questions if Mobley can reach that quote-unquote superstar status playing the 4 instead of the 5 with another non-shooting big next to him. And this does bring up the question, and I think we're going to get a year's runway with Kenny Atkinson to try and get a definitive answer. Can Evan be a 4 next to Jarrett Allen, or does Evan have to be the 5 to reach his full potential and reach what they're paying for by giving him the rookie max extension?
I got a question, an Evan Mobley question for you.
Please.
And it might sound crazy, but you're the perfect person to ask.
That scares me.
So when you look at Bam Adebayo and how he is offensively, and then you look at Draymond and how he is offensively, of course you'd say Bam is better, right? You say Bam is here, Draymond's probably like right
Currently
here.
or like at their peak?
Currently.
Yeah, Bam's better currently.
Okay. Do you think when they did this coaching search, do you think so Kenny Atkinson is more likely to get him to turn into Draymond than maybe a Chris Quinn was to get him to turn into Bam?
I mean,
I know. It's a weird question, but it was on my mind, and
they're used in different ways. And I'm trying to think of how to articulate this in a.
You could just say it because I'm not dumb.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just trying to think of a way to like. Bam initiates offense
Yeah, he pushes
for the Heat.
Yeah, he does.
And Draymond does to an extent, but Draymond's more of a fulcrum they run offense through.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
When
Bam
the Warriors run offense and they use Draymond as the hub, of the 10 plays and I'm just using make-up numbers. The 10 plays they run, 1 is for Draymond to actually score, 9 is for him to find Steph, Clay, Wiggins, whoever.
I got you.
When they run offense for Bam, it's 50-50 play make versus Bam. We're trying to get you in an advantageous position to attack.
So it would be a big leap for Evan to be like Bam, and it's more closer for him to be more.
I
like
think
a
he's more
Draymond.
closer to the Draymond archetype right now. Doesn't mean he can't get to the Bam,
I got you.
but Bam's a more fluid ball handler, and I feel like he has a little more stop, start, go than Mobley does at this point, to where he can attack bigger guys off the dribble. So I would think in year 1, the progression is start where Draymond's at,
Yeah.
and then hopefully get up more
where
towards the
we're
Bam, if that makes sense.
Well,
Bam's incredible.
Bam looked good
Bam's
yesterday.
incredible.
Which I told y'all about against South Sudan what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Just toying with it.
Jason, is that
No, I actually like the way.
did I
like the way you
describe
said
that in a way that makes sense?
Yeah, I like the way you said that. When I think of Evan Mobley comps, I've never thought Bam Adebayo.
Well, a lot of people thought that if he could ever get there, like that would be like the peak of him is a Bam Adebayo.
I think if he gets to Anthony Davis, that's his peak.
Yeah, I think he's more Anthony Davis.
I think he's more
offensively.
Anthony Davis than Bam Adebayo.
Anthony Davis could do everything, though.
Yeah, but Anthony Davis could do everything when he was set up properly. Anthony Davis wasn't.
He ain't coming up the court and doing.
He could, but he was never used like that.
Yeah, I got you.
The Heat run stuff.
I'm about to
through
say Bam
short.
literally runs point guard sometimes, and I'll be like,
And this begs the question. This is what I was getting to with the Allen extension now. Can Evan do that with Jarrett on the court? And I'm hoping Kenny Atkinson can find a way to unlock it.
It'd be
And there are
nice.
ways, and I'm going to do a whole diagram, and I'm going to design some stuff later before the season starts on ways you can make and create space even if you can't shoot. Because there are ways to do that, and Kenny Atkinson is significantly smarter than I am, and the stuff I'll throw out there is the most elementary version of it.
I'm shocked. You went to Emerson.
Kenny Atkinson has coached in the league for a very long
But
time.
y'all, like, Emerson's put out all these great
And I
coaches.
came into media where you don't make money, and they all are coaching where they're doing very well for themselves. So, yeah, we could talk about smarts and not, and I totally missed that boat. But I'll show you some ways that you can create space even if you're not a shooter. Mm-hmm. But can you create enough space if Evan's starting from the foul line? That's the question. If he's initiating offense from the elbow, is there enough space even if Jarrett Allen's not out of
I feel like that's tough with Jarrett out there.
And that's the question that they're going to see if Kenny Atkinson
he got to
can
start
answer.
he got to start from the 3-point line.
Which is why I've said, we've talked about this on the show before, but anytime going into last year, I talked to people around the league about the Cavs. It was always Evan Mobley and 4 shooters around him. No mention of Jarrett Allen anywhere.
So
That was the view
do you
from
see
outside.
Do you ever see a scenario where Jarrett Allen comes off the bench?
Not when you're paying him $30 million a year.
Yeah, I think that they're committed to making this
So
work.
It's a 1-year runway to see if it works, and if not,
Kenny, please.
I
sparse it up.
I hope you. I hope you.
I'm not optimistic. Like, I thought they needed to break up the front court before the back court.
You said that 100 times.
I thought Donovan and Darius can figure it out. They played fine together 2 years ago, the year before the season that just ended. I don't know that they're going to figure this out. But we'll see. I mean, hey,
How much?
that's why Kenny Atkinson's here.
How much they paying Kenny?
Kenny? I haven't seen the numbers yet.
Yeah.
All the numbers have never.
Final thoughts on the Allen extension, though. Overall, like it, love it.
You know what?
hate it.
Overall, where we're at with this, where this organization is, I have no choice but to like it. Like I say, Jarrett Allen is a guy who's consistent. He played, how many games did he play last year? Like 75 or something like that?
77 in the regular season.
Yeah, so like he's a guy that's dependable. When other guys are in and out of the lineup, he's a guy that's constant. He's a guy that's still going to get you rebounds. He's a guy that's going to be your defense anchor. He's a guy that's there to clean up stuff. So you still need that guy, and I like him there. Obviously, when you just look around the league and you look at all these other offenses and you be like, man, I wish the Cavs could do that. That's fine. But at the end of the day, this team still does a good job of putting points up, and he's a guy that's consistent. You know what you're going to consistently get out of him, and I kind of like that. So I don't have a problem with the contract.
It's not a bad contract at all, especially with where salaries are going, where we're going to look back in 2-3 years and see what this number's at. It's not a bad contract.
No, I said it earlier. If you keep him, it's a player on a good contract. The highest, according to the projections, his salary will impact is 16% of the cap. Jarrett Allen's worth 16% of your cap on the worst day. And if it doesn't work, it's now a more tradable piece because he has more value. Earl, let's get a read and let's talk a little more Browns.
Let's do it. I got some good news for the good, faithful fans of the Cleveland Guardians, man. We are back at the crib tonight. And if you want to catch a ticket to watch the Cleveland Guardians face the Baltimore Orioles, download the Game Time app. If you're running late, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. All you got to do is, again, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL. So, fellas, Amari Cooper sat down with NFL Network the other day, and he talked about that basically, you know, him and Jerry Jeudy is off to a strong start with building that relationship, that they use a lot of flashcards during their studying. And he also said that he believes that the Cleveland Browns have a dynamic trio at the wide receiver position. So the question, are you buying what Amari is selling?
I think it depends, at least in my eyes, how you want to classify dynamic. Because on paper, and if you look at the skill sets that each of these 3 receivers bring to the table, yeah, I think you can say they could be a dynamic wide receiver trio.
Are we assuming that the third is Elijah
Yes.
Moore? Okay.
In this instance, the third is Elijah Moore. Amari Cooper's coming off the best season of his career last year. Jerry Jeudy's a former first-round pick who is now in the best position he's been in throughout his NFL career to succeed. Elijah Moore understands what's at stake here going into a contract season, coming off a disappointing last season in terms of what Browns fans expected from him. They have the potential to be dynamic in my mind, Tyvis, but until we see that potential turn into production on Sundays, I can feel good about them. I can't feel great about them. That's how I look at this.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, when you look at skill set wise, you're right. Amari Cooper, best route runner in the game. Jerry Jeudy is a really good route runner, a very shifty guy that can really shake up a DB if he's checking him. And then you got Elijah Moore, who's very explosive at times, and he had moments last year where it seemed like things clicked for him, but it just wasn't consistent enough. If they could consistently get on the same page, Amari Cooper stays healthy, the connection between Deshaun and Jerry Jeudy is there, and Elijah Moore actually runs the routes at 10 yards instead of 11 yards, then I think that, yes, you will have something special, because one-on-one, these guys can consistently win their one-on-one matchups. Even when Elijah Moore, even though he struggled last year, he did win a lot of one-on-one reps, and maybe the ball didn't get to him, or maybe it was overthrown or something like that, or like I said, he ran the route just a little bit too far. So he has what it takes to win those routes. They have to do it consistently to be considered dynamic, but that also comes with the play calls and the protection, and it ultimately comes down to number 4.
How high do they have to rank? And I hate rankings, but I'm going to play along.
I have the answer for you, by the way. I have 4 different rankings of wide receiver groups.
Of course you do.
Because I looked this up. I was going to bring this up. So, PFF, heading into 2024, ranked
they gotta be
the wide
at least
receiver
top
groups.
10.
They said where?
I said got to be at least top 10, right?
PFF had 18th.
18? Sheesh.
Sharp Football, which included tight ends, had them 13th.
Okay.
USA Today had them 19th. CBS Sports had them 17th. So middle of
That's
the pack.
not dynamic.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I
That's
think
kind of where I was going, is they're not top 10.
Yeah,
they're
they're
not,
not-
like, let's be,
Yeah.
can we come back to earth? This is not a top 10.
I gotta look at the. Let me hold on.
All right,
you
here.
said at least top 10. Like I don't think you can make
I
a case. Top 10.
I gotta look.
All right, here's CBS, okay, because I just pulled this up real quick.
Give me.
Number 1, according to CBS
Houston.
this year, Houston.
No.
And they have legit dynamic playmakers.
I'm-
Collins,
it's nothing to
Stephon
argue.
Diggs,
It's
Tank
nothing to
Dell.
argue.
Yeah.
Tank Dell. That's number 1. Number 2, Chicago. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen,
And Rome
and
Odunze.
Rome Odunze.
It's pretty damn good too.
3, Miami.
Pretty good.
Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Odell.
You know, if he plays.
4, Cincinnati.
Pretty good.
Jamar, T. Higgins, and Trenton Irwin.
See,
And the
but
rookie they just drafted.
all of these is the same. Everybody has 2, and they're dependent on the third one, except Houston.
Would you take the Browns over any of those teams that I just mentioned? Those threesomes.
No.
So,
Well,
So with that,
no.
Okay, let's keep going. San Francisco 5.
No.
Ayuk, Debo.
I don't even need, you don't even
Yep.
need to listen. No.
Philly 6.
No.
Tampa Bay 7. Mike Evans, Godwin.
No.
Seattle 8.
Dang, no.
DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yep.
Here we go.
Minnesota 9.
Addison Jefferson.
You
Addison,
can talk me
Jefferson.
into it.
Justin Jefferson's so
You
good
can
by
no. Who the
Justin
third? Who the
Jefferson,
third
Addison,
one?
Trent Sheffield.
You can talk me into it.
10, the Rams. Cooper Kupp, Puka.
Nah, you
And
can't
that one.
talk me into that one.
Okay, well, now we're to 11. Cowboys.
can
CeeDee
talk-
Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Jalen Tolbert.
You can talk me into it.
And 12, Titans. DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd.
And they have Traylon Burks as their
That's
fourth
more
receiver.
of a solid one.
Are they still
Yeah.
dynamic? Are the Browns
You
got
can
a
talk
dynamic
me into
trio?
a couple of them.
With some bribing?
Talk me in. No, I mean,
To Tyvis's point, if you get the best versions of Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore, yeah, I think they can crack into the back end of the top 10. I do, because you're looking at a guy in Jerry Jeudy who was a first-round pick, who was picked before
has
Justin
he got
Jefferson
1,000 yards?
and CeeDee
yet?
Lamb. He has not had a 1,000-yard season
That's-
yet, but
that's-
he now has a chance in a new offense with hopefully a healthy Deshaun Watson and a competent running game outside of Denver to put up his best numbers. You hope Elijah Moore can get and turn into the player we saw in training camp last year, where we all came into the 2023 season saying, is Elijah Moore maybe their most important player? We were all sorely wrong on that one. No one more wrong than the man sitting 2 seats to my right because of how high he was on Elijah Moore. However, he does have all the physical traits and abilities you want from a number 3 receiver, and if he can live up to the second-round status he was drafted with, he could be a dynamic, electric third playmaker in this passing offense. So by the end of the season, I think we can look back at these and say, yeah, the Browns ended up with a top 10 receiving core, and to Earl's initial question, a truly dynamic receiving core, But a lot of it right now is just potential and not production. And we have to see that first P turn into the second P for us to eventually put them and rank them appropriately in the top 10.
I'll buy top half. I'll buy top half of the league. I will.
By the end of the season or right now?
Right now.
Yeah,
15, 16.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's
14,
where they are.
13, 12.
Okay.
I'm not going to the top 10. Not over those. And that's not dynamic to me. If you're not top 10 in the league, are you really dynamic? That's 33% basically. 33%.
Yeah. Top 8 is the top quarter of the league.
Yeah.
When we got to 11, you could talk me into it.
Well, okay, but that's 33%. There's 33%.
You know how many people wish they was in the top 33%?
Of course.
Yeah, the other
yes.
67%.
Yes, of course.
Listen, I don't know if FanDuel has yes or no on Jerry Jeudy's 1,000-yard season or what the numbers would be, but I'd put some coin down there he'd get 1,000.
On the over?
Yeah.
Your standard $10?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, it's certainly plausible. Like, I don't think any of us would sit up here the day after the season ends, and if we were ranking the best receiving corps of 2024, assuming health, that the Browns are in that group. Like, they have the potential. They just have to actually
Wait a
produce
minute.
at that
But let
level.
me ask you this, because see, this plays a factor into it. Due to the fact that the Browns, when Kevin Stefanski was running his stuff, they ran the ball at a nice clip. Mm-hmm. Now that Ken Dorsey is making it more, I know Kevin's still calling the plays, but now that there's more of a passing emphasis, y'all don't think that they can put up big numbers?
That's what I'm saying. They have the potential to. They just have
But
to
like
actually produce that level.
I feel like if Deshaun stays healthy and the receivers stay healthy, yes, they will be top 10.
But right now, today, as we sit here today,
I don't have enough evidence.
That's my point.
I don't know what the quarterback hasn't been healthy. Jerry Jeudy hasn't.
Tyler's
got
is saying
1,000.
exactly what we're saying without saying it.
in
Yeah.
a different
No, but I don't-
dialect.
I just don't. It's not
From a
fair.
player's standpoint.
It's not fair.
We're coming at it from the media side. And
Yeah,
he's coming at
right.
it from
It's
the
not
player's side.
fair to say this statement. What's the question? What are you asking?
Nobody says they stink. Nobody's saying the receivers
The
stink.
question is, are they a dynamic trio?
Yeah.
Are they currently, right now, today, a dynamic trio, or do they have the potential, Tyvis, to be a dynamic trio?
Well, you can't say that right now. Currently, they are because.
Thank you. That's what we didn't say there. God. Only took 11 minutes to get it out of them.
Finish your sentence, Tyvis.
I don't want to say it.
I don't like when people cut people off, so finish your sentence.
You can't say right now that because they haven't shown that. But if everybody's healthy and if the offense is clicking, yes, they could be one of the best in the league. Yes.
Earl, what say you on this? Because we're all it took us 11 minutes to get here, but we're all in exact agreement with our general point.
Y'all saying it wrong. That's the problem. Y'all ain't saying it right.
I think this wide receiver room has the potential to be a top 10 room. It's hard to look at it right now and say, okay, they're a dynamic trio. I think a lot of people – I don't know. I think a lot of people look at Jerry Jeudy and feels like he's not good. But Jerry damn near had 1,000 yards last year with, like, really anemic quarterback play. He might not to this point, he might not have as, like, kind of lived up to that number one draft pick status. But it's not like he's been god-awful since he's been in this league.
Nah.
So, playing opposite of Amari, it creates more opportunities. Elijah Moore's second year here in Cleveland, we should see what it looks like with Ken Dorsey at offensive coordinator. But, when you got a guy like David Njoku, who's, to me, the X factor or the wild card and all this, he unlocks opportunities for all three of those dudes to be great. So we'll see. But if Amari says it, I kind of tend to believe it.
It doesn't help for Jerry Jeudy's sake that the two receivers selected after him in that same class were CD and Justin Jefferson.
It does not help.
It just doesn't, and it's not any fault of his own, but those are the expectations that are set when in the same draft class. He was a second receiver. Henry Ruggs was the first one taken.
Do you look at him? Dang, Henry Ruggs went first? Man.
Oops.
And actually,
they went to the same college, didn't they?
It went, yeah. It was both at Alabama. Ruggs, Jeudy, CD, Rager, Justin Jefferson were the 5 first-round receivers that year.
Worse. First of all, I found out Jerry Jeudy is plus 420 for 1,000 yards on FanDuel, so take that. Secondly, Was Jerry Jeudy considered the number one in Denver, or was it Cortland Sutton?
I think they had two Bs, two twos, really. I don't know if they had a bona fide number one. He was drafted to be said number one, but he never turned into it.
It felt like Sutton was their number one.
I agree.
He was more of the red zone threat for sure. Sutton.
But see, the problem with this one is he won't be a number one here either.
Which could
Not
be,
this year,
could be
at
perfect
least.
for him. Yeah.
He should have a better number one ahead of him, though, and a better quarterback throwing to
Yeah.
him.
Which would hopefully raise all tides. And Earl just got in my ear and said we had breaking news. Earl, what's up?
Yeah, we got breaking news right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. According to Cleveland.com, Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb goes public with $461 million taxpayer-funded offer to renovate Brown Stadium. Asked Jimmy Haslam to respond by August 12th.
I'm pulling up the tweet so I can see this myself here.
So they trying to keep it downtown.
No one's more upset with this news than Jason.
No, that's not true.
Or not upset, but
That's not true.
it means you have to work, which Jason hates doing. So that's why I said
Sometimes.
you're
I
upset.
just got off the beach.
Here's
What's
the tweet.
the language on that again? I just want to see the language on that. 61 taxpayer-funded offer, because he's the one that said no general fund money will be used. So I'm curious to see where they're going to get that from and where it's coming from.
I'm going to click in the article and try reading it while you're talking. Just a heads up.
You know, we talked to the Haslams about it. I was obviously at the Greenbrier last week for a couple of days and was there for Jimmy and Dee talking about the stadium issue. And the thing that struck me, I haven't written about this yet, the thing that struck me, it's obvious. Like, it should be obvious by now. If they can figure out the funding, they're going to Brook Park. Like, I said that 6 months ago, and I think the momentum is here is building to that. They want the dome. For Andrew Berry to come out and say dome, why do you think he's saying that? You think if Jimmy and Dee didn't want a dome, the GM would come out and say he wanted a dome? Of course he's falling, and of course they want the dome, or this wouldn't even be a discussion.
Sorry to cut. I have the money stuff. I'm going to read this. This is directly from the Cleveland.com article written by Courtney Astolfi. $367 million, $227 million from increases in admission tax revenues, $120 million from Cuyahoga County sin tax revenues, and $20 million in existing stadium capital reserves over a 30-year lease term with a 5-year renewal option. The city will turn the Willard Garage and Muni Lot over to the Browns for their exclusive use on game days and event days. Parking revenues are expected to generate $94 million for capital repairs and improvements. Under the current lease, the city covers $1.3 million in annual property taxes and insurance, while the Browns pay $250,000 in rent. Under the proposed new lease, rent will be waived for the Browns, but they will assume responsibility for the insurance and tax payments. The adjustment aligns with the lease agreements held by the Guardians and Cavs, making it consistent across all franchises in Cleveland. In a letter to the Haslams, which was also made public by City Hall, Bibb asked the Haslams to respond to his offer by August 12th.
What's the
So what happens if they?
There's the numbers if you want to look
What
at it.
happens when they say, "Yeah, no, we good"? What that mean? That
I'm going to defer all
say
stadium.
again?
what happens when the Haslam goes, "Yeah, no, we good. We want the dome."
Well, here's what's interesting is I need to look more into how some of these other ones are how these other stadiums are doing it. But I asked Jimmy. I mean, we have a pretty big election coming up in November, right? There's a pretty big ballot issue in terms of who's going to be running the country. And I asked him if they were going to have anything on the ballot this November, and he said no. And I said, do you think you need to get something on the ballot? And he said no. So they don't think they need to go public and put anything on the ballot to get a new stadium in Brook Park. It would be through bonds and some other things. And I haven't done enough research yet to answer. But, like, we've seen Kansas City shoot down when it went to the ballot. Kansas City shot it down. A couple other cities, I think, shot down ballot
Did
issues.
Chicago just shoot there?
So, yeah, I think I did it.
Yeah.
So the Browns, I think, know if they put it on the ballot, it's probably going to fail.
Yeah.
So they're trying to figure out how to do this without putting it on the ballot. Now, if the city's willing to offer this, I'm curious to see where this goes. the Browns don't have to take it. Well, if the lease is up, the lease is up. They don't have to take it. And now you can get back in the Modell law stuff and everything else. But I like if the city wants to fight this, it's going to wind up in the courts, and I don't know necessarily that they're going to win because we're talking about
the city
Brook
or the
Park.
Haslam's?
The city. I don't know what the city, because obviously the spirit of the Modell law was to keep a team within the region. Moving across the line is still obviously the region, but there is specific language in the Modell law that the city might have a case. I don't know. I'm curious to see where this goes, how this whole thing unfolds. The syntax one, though, what was the syntax number again? Because I need to look up and see when the syntax expires. I thought that the syntax, because that, again, like that was really heated.
$120 million from the syntax. Syntax revenues.
I think that there's other avenues to explore
I'll read it one more
besides
time.
cigarettes and alcohol.
$227 million from increases in admission tax revenues.
Sick of weed.
$120 million from Cuyahoga County sin tax revenues, and $20 million in existing stadium capital reserves. You add that together, that gets you $367 million. Then you add on top of that $94 million in reported and expected revenue generated from the city turning over the Willard Garage and the Muni lot to the Browns for use on game days and event days.
So all they have to pay is like $290 million because it's $750 for the total thing.
For the renovations?
Yeah. How much was the renovation? Wasn't it like $750 million?
No, they wanted. It was $1 billion in renovations. Was it $1 billion and split 50-50? I think. So this would
Well,
get them.
it's pretty close to 50-50.
This would get them to that number. I don't know. I'll be curious to see how this goes.
I am too, because
I'll be curious because
It's a fascinating turn in the story. Did not see Mayor Bibb putting his you-know-what on the table and saying, Jimmy,
well,
it's on your plate now.
At the end of the day, he's showing it like, listen, we did the best we can, and if Jimmy wants the dome, then at the end of the day, he always wanted the dome, and he gonna pay for it. But this is what we got for you. This is what we got, and if you don't want it, that means you didn't want to be down there no way.
Based on initial thoughts, and obviously we got this news 10 minutes ago. We've literally only read the snippets. Does it seem like a fair proposal from the county, Jason, or from the city?
Yeah,
I feel like it's pretty fair too.
I
From
thought so, too.
my initial reading of it.
I need to digest this and look at a couple things, but my initial thought is I'm surprised that they came that aggressively with it. They're obviously serious about keeping the team downtown, and we'll see. We'll see if what the Browns think about it. Like obviously, it's a lot less money out of Jimmy's pocket.
We got 11 days
to go renovation versus a new build. And the like I've been before. Like I would love to see a dome here. I haven't hid that fact. I'm very much pro dome. But the thing that does concern me that I don't know if fans appreciate is how much ticket prices are going to explode if they get a dome. Like explode. It's going to price a lot of people out. And this might as well, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as the dome will be. And so that's something to really consider because I think the prices will soar.
And just to be clear before we move on, in this proposal, the $460 million that the city would be offering up would not be for a dome renovation downtown. It would just, I guess we don't know for sure, but that figure does not indicate
no, it's not
a dome.
You can't
it's just
put
a renovation
you can't put a dome
for
on
the
that
stadium.
thing. You can't put a dome on an existing building. It would still be open air. You'd still freeze to death in the wintertime.
Well, we see where you at.
But he hasn't hit it whatsoever.
I mean, it's not enjoyable. It's in the whole football is meant to be.
Wait a minute.
Shut
You
up.
are a hypocrite.
Why?
Because I'm at the Browns game with you. Where are we sitting?
Inside.
All right, so be quiet. The weather ain't even affecting you.
No, but I still gotta walk into the stadium.
He in there in the press box with me.
He went to the Saints game with his kid.
I did.
Oh, you did sit outside.
Yes.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, we had club seats. But
I got a question, and this for.
Earl's got a question.
Okay, so like $461 million is the offer that the city is making. I think that's a fair offer. I think the timeline for Jimmy to respond is also fair. Is it likely that he accepts this offer? Probably not. I think with Andrew Berry going out publicly and saying they want a dome, then all signs point to Brook Park. But Justin is he's behind the city. Most of the city wants to keep the stadium downtown. So if you can't put a dome on an existing building, let's get creative for a few minutes. What upgrades can be made to the stadium that you think would appease the fans enough to be satisfied with the stadium staying downtown with the renovations without a dome?
I'll defer to you two. You guys are there significantly more frequently than I am, so I'll defer to you two.
If you can't,
the first thing they could do is have better food. That can happen.
the first thing I think they need to do is the way that it's constructed and the way that the wind comes in from the corners is brutal. So if there's a way to enclose it a little bit better, so where it's not so frigid and where the wind is so, that's why the kicker struggles so badly, is because Phil Dawson. That's why Phil Dawson put the extra Dawson flag up inside the stadium, because the existing flags weren't good enough in terms of how much the wind swirled in there, and just the way it comes in off the lake and comes in off those corners. If they could seal that off somehow and make it more of a bowl instead of open on the ends, that would be step one. And I mean, fans don't care about this, but the big money spenders do. The fact that like you can't see the scoreboard and punts and stuff and the most expensive seats, you got to address that. You got to fix that. These guys are spending the most money and they can't see parts of the game, so you have to deal with that. Beyond that, you have to figure out how long is the project going to take? Where's the team going to play? You know, if this is a complete teardown and rebuild and it's uninhabitable for a year, 2 years.
I know a place.
Columbus.
Go Bucks.
So I don't. I mean, Infosys Stadium is a lot closer, but I don't think the Browns would necessarily really want to do that.
Why do that? You could sell out 100,000 to come see the Browns in Columbus.
That would be cool to see the Browns in Columbus.
It would be
just
pretty
once, not for an entire year.
They used to do the.
They did.
What did
used
they
to go down
do?
there.
What game did they play down there? Was it a camp?
Was it preseason? Well, camp. No, they went to Hiram.
It was
camp
something that
back in the
happened
day.
because Terrell Pryor was suspended from the school and couldn't come back, and they had to waive it for one day so he could come out there and practice.
Oh, I was covering the NBA then. I don't remember that.
It
That's
was
funny.
I can't. It was like
That's
20.
recent.
This was like 2015, maybe 2015, 2014. I can't remember what they did down there, but they did a practice or something on Ohio State's field or something. Like I feel like it was camp or something, but whatever. Yeah, I mean everything that Jason said is perfect with me. At the end of the day, he gonna tell him no anyways. Because
I don't know if he is or not.
He gonna tell him no because
I don't know.
You know why? Because he can make more money if he build it in Brook Park. Because he will own it.
Well, I asked him directly, why not build it yourself? If you want the dome, build it yourself. And he kind of chuckled and said, based on how these things are going with stadium constructions, a public-private partnership is best. And that was really the answer that he gave. But at least we got him on record with somebody asking him, why don't you just build it yourself if that's what you want? Because I do believe that he should still, if that's what he wants, go build it yourself. But it would bring a whole different look to the Cleveland area, certainly not downtown Cleveland, but the Cleveland region. I do think that they would still be involved with lakefront development if they pulled out. I don't think you can pull out and go to Brook Park and then just leave downtown and say, see ya. I think that the Hasms would have to be involved in whatever concept goes in that spot. But clearly, the city's making it, like, if somebody look it up, I think it was $1 billion renovation for the old stadium and $2.5 billion for new. I want to make sure that's right, though.
That sounds right from my recollection.
Because if it's $1 billion renovation and I know Jimmy's going to go halvesies on it, the Browns are just telling you, here you go. Here's your half.
Yeah.
Here's your half. Now, I think the city in that instance, if they go down this path, should also tell Jimmy, you're responsible for any and all overruns, because there's always, it never
comes to actually $1 billion.
Yeah.
It'll be 1.2 or something.
Yeah. So
They had to tear it down to the roots.
this is a really interesting plot twist. It is. Really interesting plot
And
twist.
as always, as more stadium news comes out, we'll talk about it and discuss it at length here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. But for now, we got to pivot to another Browns topic after a quick word from Earl.
Big facts, man. As always, the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is brought to you by FanDuel. As you all know, I love sports. I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. This summer, FanDuel is hooking all customers up with Booster Bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. So the other day, Cleveland Browns safety Juan Thornhill sat down with Browns beat reporter Cameron Justice. And he basically said that he doesn't want the Cleveland Browns fans to lose faith in him. He understood that, expectations was high and he didn't deliver. And he is aiming for a Pro Bowl caliber year after working hard this offseason. He also alluded to that he deleted Twitter off his phone and he's basically fully focused on
all players should
football.
do that.
So the question, are you still all in on Juan Thornhill?
Well, we have a former NFL safety on the set with us, so it would be disrespectful for Jason or I to try to answer this question before we let the one who knows more about defensive back play than the two of us combined times infinity get the first shot. Tyvis, are you still in all in on Juan Thornhill?
I was never out on Juan Thornhill, so that you need to ask Garrett about this question. But for me, I was never out on Juan. I understood that he had some injuries last year that allowed him not to be the best him, but you wanted to go get a guy who played in the post that can make plays, and Juan Thornhill has shown you that he is the guy to do that. I mean, it was a preseason game last year against the Chiefs.
Correct.
And
yep.
I think he
the
had
pick six.
had a really
Chiefs.
good game against them. So, and then he's made time and time again. He's come out the post and chased things down and made plays. So, when healthy, if he did that with a messed up calf last year, imagine what he would be like when he's 100% healthy. So, I think that he will have a really good bounce back season. I think he will make those plays because there will be plays to be made out of that post. If this guy was 100%, maybe against the Texans, maybe some of the things that happen don't happen. I think that a lot of that came down to some of the post play and some of the DB play in general to why they lost that game. So, yeah, I'm expecting a really good bounce back season with him. As far as the social media goes, Jason says that everybody should get rid of it. Sometimes you need that motivation. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes you need to read something just to get you upset a little bit, to get you going a little bit more. So,
and that's why the media is here, including you.
I don't really talk bad about no athlete. I give constructive criticism. I give the same criticism that a coach would give a player. That's how I am. That's how I present it. That's how I talk because that's how I was taught to be. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with social media.
Tell me if I'm wrong, is there an injury that is worse, that sounds insignificant, than a calf injury? It sounds so insignificant. Oh, it's just a calf.
You can't plant.
It's debilitating.
You can't do nothing. Yeah.
It's debilitating. But
that and a quad. I messed up my quad. It messed me up in the games. Yeah, anything lower extremities really bothers you. Like a finger and a toe is annoying. You can get through it, but it is annoying because every time you got to plant, like turf toe, take you right out. You don't even.
That's actually the right answer.
Sit out.
Turf
just
toe.
sit out. Don't even try it.
Yeah.
If you got turf toe, you are out.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right on turf toe. But when I see calf, I'm like, oh man. Like Donovan Mitchell, when Donovan strained his calf, I'm like, well, you're done. You're done. That's a month. And you think you're over it. You come back. You just re-aggravated it. There go another 3 weeks.
That's exactly how my quad was.
It just lingers and lingers and lingers. I've seen baseball seasons wrecked over calves. I've seen basketball seasons wrecked, football seasons wrecked. And you'd think it's not that big of a deal, but it is a massive deal. So I'm with you. I was never out on Juan Thornhill. When a guy strains his calf, what do you expect? What do you want from him?
A guy that's literally flying out of the post to make plays, that has to run. His best ability is his ability to run sideline to sideline. And, his calf is messed up. Yeah, he's not going to be the same.
He had, by all statistical measures, the worst year of his career last year. And a big reason of that was due to injury. Mm-hmm. It's the first time in his career he's really missed games. He had played in at least 16 games in each of the first 5 seasons of his career. Then last year, played in 11. Last year was the first year in his career he didn't generate a single turnover. Part of that, he missed games because of the injury. We saw guys like Ronnie Hickman step up and play extremely well in that role last year at times. And we know Rodney McLeod brings a veteran presence, and we think DeAnthony Bell should take that next step forward. Mm-hmm. I think what Juan Thornhill brings to this team, and from a leadership and culture standpoint, may be even more valuable than what he contributes actually on the field come Sundays. Because, and I don't mean this as a disrespectful thing whatsoever, but I'm not 100% certain he's one of their 2 best safeties. I'm not. Like, if you told me
Juan Thornhill better than is not.
Like, if you told me Ronnie Hickman was going to end up being better than Juan Thornhill this year, I'd be like, I could see it. I wouldn't be totally shocked by that.
I'd still defer to Thornhill.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying I'm not 100%
Would I be
certain it'd
shocked?
be like that.
I wouldn't be shocked by that because he's a Buckeye. Go Bucks.
But you get what I'm saying, though. So, like, if
it would throw me for a loop.
I'd be pretty surprised.
It would throw me for a loop, for sure.
Maybe I'm too high on Hickman. Who knows? But my point is that safety room is loaded, Ty. And what he brings from a championship experience standpoint, being a guy who's won Super Bowls in Kansas City, and I'm not sure how many other guys on the roster the Browns have that have actually won Super Bowls. I'm trying to think off the top of my head real quick.
None.
Is he the only one? McLeod has one with Philly.
Oh, yeah, McLeod got one.
Anyone else?
Was Jordan Hicks there with him?
Jordan Hicks.
Did Hicks win one with Schwartz in Philly? So 3 guys with the ability and the playoff experience and the championship experience and knowing what it takes to win at that level. There's less of that on this roster than there are talented safeties. So I think his biggest contribution, because he's a good contributor on the floor, on the field when he's healthy, there's no doubt about that. But I don't think you can replicate what he brings in the locker room and in the team meetings leading up to it.
You know what I heard you just say?
What?
Safeties is not important to you. That's what
No,
that's
I'm
what
saying the opposite. I'm saying the Browns have prioritized that position so much that they have a plethora of talent.
You don't think that the safety position is high value.
How did you get that out of what I said?
You just think that we just out there just to talk and motivate guys. That's what you got out of it.
No, I'm saying they have so much talent in that room between Grant Delpit, who was on a Pro Bowl track last year, Juan Thornhill,
you think anybody can go back there and just play?
No, I think Andrew Berry's damn good at evaluating talent at that position is what I'm saying.
It's cool.
He found DeAnthony Bell and Ronnie Hickman out of nothing.
Just saying.
And they've turned into hell of incredible players.
Like he just ain't important back
You hit a nerve with former safety.
I mean, listen, I'm trying to give him credit. I'm trying to say AB does as good a job as anyone in football at evaluating that position in terms of talent.
Juan Thornhill's going to be just fine. Like I say, Mike is right, though. He does bring a lot. You know, this team talks trash. This team is more confident in itself. Why? Because Juan Thornhill is the first person that's talking the most trash. I ain't never seen somebody that just talk to an offense and just harass offenses. I like it, though, because I tell you what, if it was my team, I'd be right there with you front line. I'd be me and you, we probably get kicked out some games the way I'll be talking.
Did you talk? Did you talk a lot?
Oh, he talked all the time.
Me?
Yeah.
It depends on how I was feeling. You know, I had moments where I made it got out of line.
Did you talk more at Ohio State or in the NFL?
Oh, at Ohio State.
Yeah.
It was because listen. At Ohio State, what you gonna say? You know you about to lose. There's nothing you can say. I was talking crazy to Jim Harbaugh.
What's the worst thing you ever said?
Man, it's just so many.
Or the best. The best, however you want to categorize.
Oh, the worst thing, I told you this multiple times, the worst thing I ever said is that I harassed a quarterback because I was putting him on game that his girlfriend was an Ohio State attendee, and I was explaining to him that it was several guys that was on the Ohio State football team that know her and are very fond of her.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
And I was just letting
I never heard that story.
I was just letting him know that, she's very giving.
Oh, my. You said that to the man about
and
his girlfriend?
And he thought I was playing, and when I said her name, he was like, oh, yeah. So, yeah.
Who was the quarterback?
Well, let's just say he was a former Cleveland Brown.
Oh, God.
Former Cleveland Brown.
Brady Quinn.
No, he wouldn't have played Brady.
No, it was way before your time.
Go Bucks.
I will spend the rest of the show going to Browns quarterbacks.
Anyways, what we got next? What we got next?
That's hilarious.
That is.
Have you heard that story before?
I think he told it to us off air before.
Off air?
I had heard the story, and I feel like it was.
Tell him a lie.
I feel like it was Indiana was the team.
Was it a Big Ten team? Non-Big Ten.
DeShone Kizer.
Good pull.
From
Maybe
One Deshaun to a Deshaun.
Maybe.
Real quick, before we move on to the Guardians and the Orioles,
Y'all
the
sick.
Pro Football Hall of Fame game is tonight. This game has become so irrelevant, we don't even talk about it. There's no starters playing on either
None.
side.
Nope.
But the mere fact that football is back for the next 26 weeks starting tonight, how excited does that get you?
You know, I always do like football. I mean, it's something about just when it comes back. I know nobody's playing tonight, but I'm going to still watch it because the people that's playing in this game is near and dear to me because I was in that
was you,
situation.
right?
Yeah. So, like, I feel for them. I want to see guys go out there and make plays. And I want to see these guys that, you know, that's not comfortable. You know, these guys, I have to do something in this game to impress this coaching staff so I can be on this team. If not this team, I got to be on somebody's team. And you see a lot of gems in this game. You know, it's a lot of opportunity that's going to be out there. Guys that might be, you might not see them maybe offensive defense when the regular season comes, but special teams, you'll get to know who these guys are from them being big-time special teamers. So I'll definitely be in tune. I did want to see Caleb Williams out there, but I understand why he's not playing.
I was going to ask, will you watch? You'll watch?
Yeah, I'll watch.
Will you watch?
I have basketball tonight, so I won't.
Yeah, I'm not watching.
I would have watched. I just want to see the new kickoffs. More than anything else, I'm more interested to see what these new
That's a good
kickoffs look
point.
like, what teams are going to try to do. My gut tells me we're going to see a bunch of creative kickoff returns in the early faction of the season, and then as teams realize it's only 5 yards, we're going to see touchbacks every time after like the
See,
week 4.
I don't think you're going to see anything in the preseason. I think teams are going to keep this very, very generic because they don't want to give away anything. You know what I mean? I don't.
But I'm just saying it'll look different. So to
Oh,
me, it'll
it
be
will look
creative, even if
different.
it's completely standard for what they'll do in the
Yeah.
regular season. I'm talking big picture, not the preseason.
Yeah.
But by week 4, like by mid-October, we're just going to see touchbacks every time.
I want to
Every
ask
time.
you real quick. I want to ask you how much, when you're trying to make a team, when you're trying to make a 53,
Yeah.
how much of that is reliant on a first preseason game, and how much of what they see every single day? Because I would think practice still holds more than the preseason game, but obviously there is some value to the game.
Well, what you just said took me back to my rookie year. So my rookie year in practice, I was like not great at all. And my my position coach Dre, he'd tell you, he was like, I don't know. And then I got out there in my first game against Kansas City, and I had this great crackback block for Tyler Lockett on pump block. I almost downed the punt inside on the 1, but I ended up stepping on the line. I'm sorry. Had a I tackled DeAnthony Thomas inside the 20 on my kickoff, and I had a pick. And he looked at me after the game, and he said, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think you was gonna make it. He said, you don't show none of this in practice. So from that moment on, I ended up starting to be on. This is when I realized that I had a better shot of making the team. After that game, special teams wise, I became with the ones. So like game 2 and game 3, which back then it was 4 preseason games. Game 3 is the telling tale. If you with the one starting team on special teams in game 3, it's like, all right, you probably gonna make this roster. And it was because of my performance in that game. But practice-wise, I wasn't really doing anything.
Speaking of,
So what happens is if you do well in the games, they'll think, because in their minds, they're always thinking about, all right, who's the guys that we can cut and then bring back on practice squad?
Yep.
But if you go out there and you ball in the game, it's
Put
like,
it on film. Yep.
and we cut them, somebody going to claim them, so we might have no choice but to keep them.
So with that in mind, Ty, as you look at the Browns and these new kickoff rules for 2024, they have Bubba Ventrone as a special teams
Oh, it's going to be
coordinator
nothing
who-
but returns in the preseason. I'm going to tell you that right now.
But I mean, with do you think the Browns have any kind of special advantage knowing the special teams maestro they hired in Bubba Ventrone, who should be able to draw up and whip up some creative issues, or not issues, but creative solutions?
The thing about it is, I don't think nobody right now has an advantage because it's so new and nobody had to deal with it. Unless you had a coach that's from the UFL that's dealt with it for the past couple of years, there's no real advantage because this is not something that you've been studying. You know, this is new. Everybody got the information at the same time, and everybody's trying to figure it out at the same time. Now, whoever figures it out first is going to look like a really good special teams coordinator, but at the present moment, I wouldn't say no special teams coach have any advantage of this, whether you played or not. The only advantage you could possibly have is if you did it in the UFL.
Let me ask you all this, because I read like a part of these kickoff rules and special teams rules the onside kick.
I hate that.
So, like, Tyvus, dive into that. So you can't onside kick with the lead.
You can't
onside kick to the fourth quarter. Like, what's going on?
Like, they basically took away surprise onside kicks. First of all, you couldn't have done it anyways because everybody's all the way up there, so you couldn't do that anyways. Now, then they said you had to announce when you onside kick. Now they come out and said you can't even onside kick until the fourth quarter. So it's like
it's because the alignment.
I get that, but still, like,
I know, it takes a
why do I
element.
have to wait till the fourth quarter? Like, a big momentum shift is if it's after halftime we onside kicking, we announce we onside kicking and we get it. Like, that changes the whole trajectory of the game.
I hear you, but how many times does that actually happen?
Not a lot, but when it does, it changes the whole trajectory of a game.
It's probably less than once an NFL season.
Probably, but still.
So you're talking about less than 0.5%.
I don't want to listen. Why can't we make the decision? We want to sink ourselves, then let us sink ourselves. If we want to go out there and we think we got an onside kick that's going to work and we want to do it at the halftime to get some momentum, then so be it. But I don't understand why you got to wait till the fourth quarter.
Well, you can't do it from this current alignment.
No, you got to announce it so they're going to bring everybody in.
So
Or bring them back up, excuse me.
I guess they're trying to fix the 99.5%, not the half percent, not the 0.5%.
Precisely.
I guess, in the grand scheme of things,
I hear you, though, it is fun.
The surprise onside kick was already taken away once you said you had to announce it. So teams wasn't going to do it anyway.
Can you imagine coming out for start a second half? Hey, we're going to onside kick.
Hey.
Well, the Super Bowl.
Why you playing?
I'm saying, like, to announce it now. Like, hey.
Yeah, now see, that's like, I hate that. I actually, because as a front line guy, I love it because that's the thing. Back in the old times when you had to be that front center, the worst position ever, first of all, on kickoff return. If you that front guy in front of the ball on KOR, the worst, because you gotta block the toughest dude on kickoff, and it's the hardest thing ever. KOR, fly zoning and KOR is by far the hardest skill set in football, period. I don't care what nobody say. Open field tackle, trying to block Myles Garrett, trying to check Amari Cooper, I do all of that over fly zoning and KOR. That's first of all. Secondly, when you up there, you can't leave. You got to be a step late because you got to make sure the ball is kicked off.
Yeah.
So, like, you already a step behind everybody else. And one time in my career, I was in college. I was at OSU. We was going against Cal. The dude did that after halftime. They dribbled it. And I actually ended up coming up with the recovery. But I lost the ball in the pile.
Wow, you got out-muscled.
Because I took off, but I was like, oh, snap. I came back, and I dove on it, but the guy jumped on it and had it. And the pile, it was a big pile. And my boy Ron Tanner, I'll never forget, Ron was in the pile. He's like, you got it? I was like, I ain't got it. He took the
You guys talked to the pile like that?
He was like, TP, you got it? I was like, I ain't got it, Ron. He took the dude face mask and twisted it. And the dude said, he dropped it. I snatched the ball and I got it up. I was like, I got it now.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So all this is going on the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
You got it? No, I ain't got it. He takes the man.
Twisted dude dropped the ball. I grabbed it and got up.
So all that stuff that goes on at the bottom of the pile.
Oh yeah, it's real. It's real.
I know we go, guys. Can I ask one more question real quick? How much shit is talked in a pile?
You know what? It do get wild.
Wild in the pile.
It is some words being spoken in that pile. Yeah, it's like I say, if you play football, man, you gotta have a little trash talk in you because these people will say some crazy stuff to you.
After the show, I want to hear some
I
pile
got you.
stories. All right, let's talk Little Guardians because we got Jason Kipnis joining us in 11
It was worth
minutes.
it. We got the ball back.
Absolutely. Don't forget, man, the Guardians are back in town starting a 4-game series with the Baltimore Orioles. And if you want to get down to Progressive Field to see them, all you got to do is download the Game Time app right now. Save up to 60% off last-minute tickets. Just use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Again, Game Time. So, the Cleveland Guardians start a 4-game series tonight, man, with the Baltimore Orioles. Top 2 teams in the American League. What are you all expecting? Just a programming alert. Ben Lively, of course, will take the mound for the Guardians. We did have a graphic showing who the Orioles starting pitcher was. It is now to be determined. So what's your thoughts on going into this big series this weekend?
It's another chance for the Guardians to prove a lot of the doubters wrong. This is a matchup of the two teams in the American League with the most wins. The Guardians have 2 fewer losses than Baltimore. You're going to get a chance to see Tanner Bybee go up against one of the best offenses in baseball. You're going to get a chance to see if Ben Lively and what he's done this season, which has been miraculous on every account, can continue against another terrific lineup. And it's another chance for the Guardians to build some confidence as they head towards the playoff push. Tyvis, Jason, this is another opportunity for the Guardians to continue proving that this isn't a fluke and what they have done is legitimate with about 55 games left to go.
The last time we played them, didn't we win the series?
I believe it was 2 or 3 Guardians took, yes.
And at the trade deadline, the Orioles got somebody, didn't they?
They got a lot of somebody.
They
were very aggressive.
So
no stars, but a bunch of pieces.
See, and that's the thing for me. I think that when I watch this, I know it's early, but I want to see, we got to see Lane Thomas. I think he had a hit.
He did, 1 for 4.
Yeah, we got to see Lane Thomas. Like, I think that now you can see some of the trade because I'm sure they'll have maybe some of their pieces that they got. Maybe.
I think the reason their rotation switched is because it might be Eiflin or Rogers or whoever.
So, like, I want to see it. To me, this game, it's early because they haven't got their groove yet. But it will see some of the new pieces for both teams and see what the new team look like with their new said pieces in there. And if the Guardians can go out there and take some to win this series, I think it'll ease a lot of people's minds about, okay, well, at the trade deadline, maybe they didn't get the big name guys, but they still are beating the best teams in baseball, and I think that's what a lot of people will be looking at when they see this matchup.
Can I derail this for 30 seconds? Because I honestly don't know the answer to this because I haven't been here. What was the reaction to the trade deadline? Where people...
They said they liked it, but it wasn't the big fish. But it's like, all right, they understood that they needed those 2 positions, but the name wasn't like...
We graded on the show.
Yeah.
We all were in the B area.
Yeah.
I mean, the Guardians are famous for they're not going to wow you with who they get, but he's going to produce. I actually really like Alex Cobb. I like that move a lot.
Low risk, high reward.
Yeah, excuse me. It was one of those names of like afterwards. Of course, that's a vintage Guardians move. Should have seen that coming. Hopefully he's healthy and he can jump back in here soon. As far as the series, I got to take a drink. As far as the series goes, I'm excited to see it just because to me Baltimore is sort of the standard of the American League. And all the moves that they made, there's no reason Cleveland can't come in here. I mean, I still think Cleveland go to the World Series. I think they're that good this year. And the bullpen is that good specifically. So, to me, these are 2 of the best teams in the league. But if the Guardians were to get swept, that would be devastating. But, anything short of that, I'm not going to overreact to August 1st series. There's still a ton of baseball left, a ton left. But it is nice when you have matchups like this. You're going to see their best. I think Corbin Burns pitches in this series, one of the top pitchers in the American League. We'll see how the Guardians line up their rotation and when they can start to get some of these pieces like in Alex Cobb. I don't think it's been announced when he's pitching, has it?
No, he had the blister issue, so he's not pitching this series. We know that. He's not one of the 4 scheduled pitchers.
So I'm curious to see what he looks like. And again, if he gets beat around the first time or 2,
it's like Gavin Williams coming back.
He hasn't pitched in a year.
Happen, yeah.
So don't overreact if you were upset with the trade deadline and then he gets knocked around in his first start. Just relax because he does have a long track record of success. He's a little bit older, but he's, the fact he hasn't pitched all this year is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm excited to see this team. The one thing I noticed on the Lane Thomas move, I was looking real quick this morning. I was just trying to do some scans to get some number projections. Over the last 3 years, StatCast project had Thomas played all of his games at Progressive Field, he would actually have 11 less home runs than what he actually does. So everyone talks about, now again, the park factor this year, and it's a jetway in there. And
why do you have to say that? Like, why even bring up that stat? Why you dampen the mood, man?
Come on,
it's
Jason.
a fact. I'm pointing out a fact. I'm pointing out a fact.
Now, if he don't hit no home runs at home for the rest of the season,
Blame Jason.
But again, that carries this year, last year, and the year before, and obviously the park seem to be playing a little bit differently this year for whatever reason.
I hope he hit a home run tonight.
I hope he does
they
too.
in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, and I hope he DTXs. And it says Jason Lloyd and double fingers.
I mean, it's the numbers. What do you want me to do? It's the numbers.
This is a popular show, Jason. He's watching right now.
Had they been 11 more, would you like me to mention that? Hey,
Yes.
you'd hit 11 more home runs.
Yes, this is the
that-
positivity hour. In all seriousness, one thing I am very excited for this series, whenever the Guardians have played these top teams, and Philadelphia last weekend was the perfect example of it, Stephen Vogt manages like it's Game 7 of the World Series in these situations. I mean, he goes to the bullpen early, he throws his best arms, and anytime you can get those high leverage situations, even though it is not apples to the playoffs, I'm not trying to say that it's exactly the same. Mm-hmm. When you can get those proverbial reps in that mindset beforehand, I do think there is some carryover to when push comes to shove and it's actual playoff baseball. So I'm very excited to see how Vogt manages the bullpen, how long of a leash he gives to Carrasco, and if Joey Cantillo makes his second start. How about Joey, by the way, who's scheduled to start on Saturday? First two Major League starts, Philadelphia and Baltimore. Talk about two destructive lineups. He held his own against Philly. I'm very excited to see what he does against Baltimore. But
this Ben Lively one today is big for me because can he handle it? That's the question. Can he handle it?
He's answered every question so far this year.
And has he?
He's been awesome this year.
And Bybee is pitching against the Orioles?
Bybee's on Sunday. I'm going Sunday.
I
I'm
wonder
very excited to see
I
that.
wonder how many innings he pitches because he's been in 5 to 6, right?
It's
About
pitch
where
count for him, yeah.
all the baseball is, all major league pitchers are.
Are you going this weekend?
We have a ton going on.
So
we'll
probably
see.
not.
We'll see. Possibly. The Carrasco thing, I don't know how much longer he has left. Like when Cobb's healthy.
So what happens when what they gonna bring McKenzie or
No, Cobb.
Allen?
Cobb. When
So
Cobb's ready.
so when when you say Carrasco, is they gonna send him down to AAA or is he just pack? Don't say that. Really?
What are you gonna do with him?
I don't know, but you can't just cut
He's
the guy.
done. And he, like, listen, Carlos Carrasco was supposed to be a feel-good story. He
Yeah.
was supposed to be a guy who would come here, compete for maybe the last spot in the bullpen. And what he's given them to this point is commendable. Like, it's...
I'd say incredible.
Why
They got-
can't he go to the bullpen?
Over who?
Yeah, who,
So, I mean, I don't know.
There. You got me there.
I hope. Listen, Cookie's a great story. I'd love for him to finish his career here, and he might be.
What's his record? What's his pitcher record?
It's not good. His numbers this year are not
yeah.
good. They're not good.
I think his
But
record's decent because they're the best team in baseball, but I don't think his ERA, his whip, his strikeouts to walks.
If they cut him and they win the World Series, has he played with this
he gets
team?
a ring.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
For sure.
Yeah,
I'm just asking.
He 100%
Just
gets.
asking the questions.
But I mean, they've gotten far more out of him this year than they ever could have imagined that they were going to get when they signed him. He was supposed to be a sentimental signing. Hey, maybe you can claim the last spot in the bullpen, and look at what he's given them. So it's a good story, but
how long until Cobb's ready?
hopefully soon.
He threw some rehab starts for San Francisco. He got a blister on his finger, so he got scrapped from his last one. So Jeff Passan said he thinks he's going to get one rehab start for either Columbus or Akron or whatever, and then hopefully be ready to make his Major League debut. Or this season's debut. Okay. Earl asked us to do our top 5 position players for the series. And I'm curious.
Oh, Gunnar Henderson.
Well, I'm curious where, because Baltimore's lineup's filthy. Like, they have 3 to 4 legit studs. Jason, did you have a consensus number 1 in this?
Gunnar Henderson.
Thank you.
Over Jose?
Yeah.
You took Gunnar over Jose?
Yeah. Just because he's younger.
Well, it's right now. It's right now, not moving forward.
Yes.
But like this series, you'd want Gunnar over Jose for this series?
Well, I have to look at Gunner's numbers for the last 10 days and Jose's for, like, you know what I mean? But they're 1 and 1A.
I had those in my top 2. I had Jose 1, Gunnar 2.
Yeah, I off top of my head, I mean, listen, it wouldn't be very hard to convince me to go Jose. Off the top of my head, it'd probably be Gunner, but yeah,
who's
no one's going
3?
to be sad over having Jose Ramirez.
Who's 3?
Probably either
I went Rutschman.
Rutschman or Corbin Burns.
No pitch, just
no
position.
pitch.
player,
Oh,
just
no
position
pitchers.
player.
Oh, then Rutschman.
Rutschman. Did you have Rutschman?
Yes, I did.
Who do you have it for?
See, this is where it gets tricky.
It would probably be Jordan Westberg, but he just got hurt. Westberg's having a terrific
What about
year.
Santander, who has 31 homers and 75 ribbies?
Yeah,
He got 31 home runs.
I like
He may have hit one last night. He may have 32 now, but he had 31.
Westberg just came out of nowhere this year, but you're right.
I liked it. Yeah, he was balling.
When would the next Guardian appear?
That's what I'm
Well,
trying to. that's
I
the
had
point.
Santander at 4, and then I could argue for Quan or Naylor at 5. That's how I kind of came to this.
I was gonna put Quan 4th, but
Over Santander?
No, because now 31 home runs, like that's
It's legit.
Quan's 5th. Quan's 5th.
You take Naylor or Quan as the second Guardian?
Quan.
Naylor.
I'm taking Quan.
Naylor. Quan's sort of cool.
He
considerably.
has, and it's really upsetting me.
It's the Tyvus jinx. Well, the first pitch tonight is at 6:40, and I got to wrap this up because we have a very special guest joining us after a quick word from Earl of Pearl.
Yeah, just a programming note, man. Make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show and sign up for Overtime. I am a man of the people. We are show of the people. In the chat for the last 3 days, they want to know about the infamous article that Jason Lloyd wrote.
Infamous.
On Deshaun Watson.
Infamous.
I text Jason. Jason is willing to talk about it.
Of course.
We're not going to interrupt our program. So if you want to hear Jason's take on the article, subscribe to Overtime. 10, 15 minutes, we're talking about it. And Mike, you can bring in our guest.
Yeah, this is the perfect introduction to bring on a Cleveland legend of his own right, Jason Kipnis, who we are thrilled to have join the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Jason, how you doing today, man?
What's going on, gentlemen? Thank you for having me.
Of course. Jason's part of the Foul Territory show on YouTube. Make sure you check it out. We had Scott Braun on a couple weeks ago. Fantastic show, similar to UCSS, but they talk baseball 24/7. Jason, we'll start with this, but the Guardians are getting ready to take on the Baltimore Orioles this weekend in a series of the two best teams in the American League, according to the records. I know Gavin Williams is not pitching for Cleveland, but they do have Bybee on the mound on Sunday. Who do you give the edge to in this series of American League heavyweights?
I still like with Bybee on the mound, the Cleveland pitching. It always starts with pitching. Starters and bullpen. I still think Cleveland has one of the best bullpens in the entire league. So I give the edge there. But it's hard to really shortchange this Baltimore team right now with how good they look and how young and productive this lineup is of theirs. These are two of my favorite teams to watch in the entire league. There's a reason they're sitting at the top, though.
Jason, you look like you are living your best life right now. Sunshine, hat backwards. Is that a Jeep?
Jeep. Come on now.
I should have known better. Forgive my stupidity.
You better watch your tone. You better put some respect on that.
Well,
Since
you afforded that Bentley playing second base, let's talk about where the Guardians are at right now with that, with what Andres Jimenez has given them as a second baseman. I'm really curious to get your perspective on this. Obviously, he's sensational defensively. With Bazzana coming, is this a Bazzana slide Himmy over to short, and how big of a deal is it to make a transition from second base to shortstop?
Eventually it could be. I don't think Bazzana's in the picture anytime soon, maybe not for until next year.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be that's called up for the run. So Jimenez he's almost kind of opposite of me, I think. He's a glove first defender. He's fantastic in the field. And I was a bad first, kind of second. I think you see how it plays out with them too. Because I know Jimenez can move over to short. So if no one steps up at the shortstop position, I think you guys read it right. I think that is the right move where Jimenez would slide over to short eventually if Bazzana moves that fast up the minor leagues, which I think we all expect him to and hope he does.
I want to ask you a quick follow to that. Why? The fact that they've been between Rocchio and Arias all year at short and they haven't been able to come up with an answer, is that the answer?
Yeah.
The fact you don't have an answer, is that the answer? Have we reached that point?
Sometimes that's an answer itself, but I guess we still got a little bit time to know through the rest of this season and probably the first half of next year too. Again, you want to see if this is all with the production of Bazzana climbing the ranks fast and how fast the organization wants to move him. But if there is no answer, yes, that is the answer in itself. If no one wants to take the reins and grab the position and grab hold of it and force their hand to do anything, which is kind of how I got to second base in my own journey, where just no one was really taking hold of the spot. That benefits someone who's trying to climb that ladder and get to the big leagues. So I think that is the way that it's going to work out. But as a fan of the team, as we all are, I'd like to see having depth is always a good problem to have. So you want to see someone kind of step up and make it a hard decision.
Jason, if they asked you to play in the outfield, would that have been challenging to you? The reason I ask is because we have a whole bunch of middle infielders, and we've seen the center field and right field just get shuffled around, and some guys have struggled, some guys have not. Is that a hard transition to go from second base or shortstop to outfield?
I know it's been a few years, but if you remember, they did ask me of that. My last 2 years, I had there a little bit, and especially they gave me like 2 weeks before the playoffs started, and I hadn't played it for about 8 years to just go out there. It's you want to give them a little bit of time. I hope if they do it to someone, they give them a little bit more time to which I think with that depth, and it's in the minor leagues, give someone a spring training, give someone a minor league season out there to really get accustomed to instead of just kind of throwing them into the fire. I personally, and I think I'm in the majority on this, think it's going easier from the infield to lost you for a second.
I think we got you back. I can hear you again, Jason.
There we go. Okay. I think it's a little easier going from the infield to the outfield than it is from the outfield to the infield. So the change could be made, but it's just what level do you want them to do it at? Do you want someone who's young making that change up at the big league level where there's TV games everywhere and a mistake can weigh on them mentally more than it would down in the minor leagues where they have a little bit more margin for error and freedom to make those mistakes and get aggressive at balls and really learn the position, and then instead of just trying to be out there and not screw up.
So given all of that, what do you think about their organizational philosophy of basically stockpile every middle infielder you can find? Like all of their top prospects are middle infield types. And so just that philosophy in general, and then their inability to bundle any of these guys and make a trade now for 3 or 4 years or however long. We've been talking about the 40-man logjam for years, and they've never been able to pull the Padres or the Orioles type of take 3 or 4 guys, put them together, and go get one guy. Why do you think that is?
Listen, unless it's someone where they have a distinguished position coming up the ranks, where it's an obvious third baseman, an obvious big boy first baseman, or something like that, sometimes you just take the best athlete, and the best athlete for infielders are the middle infielders. So I think they have the most flexibility where, let's say, you take athletic shortstop, and let's say he grows and hits a late growth spurt. Now you can move him over to third or a first baseman. So I think it gives you the most luxury is why they're stockpiling, and maybe they just haven't been presented with that, no doubt this guy's a third baseman, or no doubt this guy's a first baseman. So stuff like that. However, I wouldn't count it out that it's going to happen in the future when, listen, these guys are going to get older. Someone's going to start playing well, someone might not play well, that they're going to have that logjam really come to the forefront at AAA and the big league level where they're not going to have the choice. They're going to have to start either moving positions or start trading people. So it's going to happen as soon as these guys get a little bit older and closer and knocking on the door to the big leagues, I think.
Jason, do you see any similarities between your 2016 team and this current Guardians team?
Pitching a little bit. I think both teams had good starting pitching and a really good bullpen, and I think that's what both these teams got. I'd probably take maybe when healthy our starting pitching, but in terms of depth from top to bottom of bullpen, I might take their bullpen this year's. Yes, we had like Cody Allen and Miller and Brian Shaw when they were at their best in that 16 run. But we didn't have like 5 or 6 deep in that bullpen maybe as these guys do. In terms of lineup, I thought we were one of the deepest lineups you could possibly have. I thought it's almost like you had a 20-plus home run guy 1 through 9. You had the big boppers of Edwin, Santana, Napoli, and some other guys to go then with a young Hosey, Lindor, me, Brantley, who was kind of not healthy. So I would take our lineup still over theirs.
You mentioned
A little
Jose.
biased, but I would.
Of course, and I don't think I would argue that either. But you mentioned Jose there real quick, and Tyvis, sitting to my right, was shocked to find out that he actually speaks halfway decent English when the media is not around.
Hey, if it's an interview he wants, if it's an interview he wants to do, it's he's got some pretty good English in there. If it's not on it, he's just gonna blank stare you and pretend he's never heard the English language in his life. If it's a cute girl at a bar, oh, it's a good looking English that he's got on it. Like that was years ago. That was years ago though. So I'm not throwing Hosey under any bus. That was like a decade ago with me. Before whatever marriage he had and kids he has now.
No, we love Jose. I was just, hopefully you could tell us just a little bit
Edit
about
that part out. If this gets back to me,
No,
edit that part out.
All good. But just if you could give us a little bit of insight into who Jose is as a teammate. We see him on the field, obviously beloved here in Cleveland, but as a guy in the locker room when the cameras and the reporters and all the media isn't around, what is Jose like as a teammate?
You know what? It's not far off from what you see is what you get. He really is kind of has that quiet demeanor. I had the younger Jose, but even he got sent down early, got called back up, and was going to do things his way. And the Jose who's there now is 1,000% my favorite version of him, and I think he would say the same thing too. The stats have always been there. This guy's been a top 3, top 5 MVP for how many years in a row now? But even before that, he had this little swagger to him. He's got that George Jefferson walk. He's got, he does not back down from anything. So he's got a quiet confidence about him where he knows if he does what he knows he can do, it works. So he doesn't question much about his game anymore. It took some time to get there. But the confidence that he's got now allows him to be the leader that he's turned into now, where that quiet, don't back down from anyone, anything in any game, whether it's ping pong or Mario Kart or the game of baseball, he carries that over. And it doesn't matter how big you are. If you're not backing down and you're the leader of the team, guys are going to follow that. So I adore this version of Jose, and I think it's the most fun one to watch.
Jason, rate the pick. Not the Browns. Wow. The Guardians ended up taking Travis Bazzana, second baseman, I think, to go first in history. What do you think of it? Was it the right move?
From the little reports that I read, this guy seems like a can't-miss prospect. He seems like a stud. I know he had an unbelievable season in college where he seems like he's getting better. His swing looks like it plays in the major leagues. He looks very balanced, all that stuff. It's what you want, and that's if you want. I'm always, if there's a guy that looks like a can't-miss prospect as a pitcher, and I know there's a couple at the top where there's a couple hard throwing, where there's that Burns from Wake Forest and some other ones. It's hard to argue against those guys. But if you have someone that you know is going to be a staple in your lineup for a decade, you're not really going to regret taking that pick too. He looks like a stud player.
Jason, what happens in 2016 if it doesn't rain?
I'm not taking this call probably. It's tough. I don't. Yes, we had momentum. I don't like to give it too much credit. You hear. Look, I'm already gonna get. I got goosebumps right now because I'm also getting angry too. And it's just I've never gone back. I've never gone back and watched any of the games really yet. Still.
Wow.
I've watched a few at bats of my own. I stop it after Rajay's home run and just assume we won. So it sucks. Yes, the rain sucks. It takes out the momentum because they were kind of shell shocked by the Rajay stuff, and but there's no telling. Without the rain, they could have then come out and scored 5 runs, and we never would have had even a chance. So that's a game of baseball. It happens. It is what it is. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Maybe a more positive question, and if you've answered this in the past, I apologize. I couldn't find the answer. But what'd you think of the nickname Dirtbag?
I loved it. It's a fun one. I got it from Manny Acta I've played that way my entire career where I played. I was about to say play dirty. I don't play dirty, but I get dirty and I'll die for stuff, head first slides, everything. So on the field of baseball, it's a great moniker to have. and guys respect it. Guys know what it's about and what it means there. So I love it as a sport. Off the field, it's not the best one to have because it's like you're walking down a sidewalk. You're like, hey, there's dirtbag, and like parents are bringing their kids in closer to them, and you're like, what? It just doesn't fit out well. So, but in terms of sports, it's a great nickname to have that I loved.
What did you think of the moves that the Guardians made at the trade deadline, getting Lane Thomas and
Alex
Cobb?
I like it. Again, you guys are probably on top of this more, or you guys can attest this as well. Sometimes, maybe not at least until like the Andrew Miller or else.
We lost sound, Jason. That usually means he got a text while he was talking to us.
It was me.
We got him back. Yep, there we go.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Someone was calling. Yeah, it's as a fan of the team, just like I am too, as you guys are. You always want to go get the biggest guy at the deadline, and especially when you're in first place and you know you're going to be in the playoffs and you're going for it. So it's always disheartening in a way where you don't get the sexiest guy out there and the biggest name and stuff like that. And you're like, why not? We're in first place. But sometimes it's not what you need, and you still got to look at the future, even though you're set on this year. So these are good pieces to have, though. Cobb is a good pitcher. Lane Thomas is productive. Again, sure, I would have loved maybe a sexier pickup or a bigger bat or something like that. But when you have, if it ain't broke, don't fix it with this lineup right now and this team. If they're still winning games and doing it the way they do it, maybe sometimes less is more.
You know, something I'm real curious that I don't think I've ever asked you or someone, a veteran. You obviously have gotten extensions from Cleveland before, but when you're a young player coming up through this organization, they obviously have a certain way of doing things. And you probably know you're only going to be here 4 or 5 years, right? Is that fair? And do players talk about that at all? Do they know, like, I'm going to Cleveland and I'm probably going to be here through my controllable years, and then that last year of arbitration, if I'm pretty good and I'm looking at a big money payday, I'm probably going to be moved out of here?
It obviously ranges player to player. There's some guys where whether it's late bloomers, early starters, whether they're older college guys coming up or younger guys, everything depends on who you are as a person, how your career's gone up to that point. I don't think it's an automatic they're priced out. Maybe Lindor was the last one to be, but when there's guys like Hosey who can take a little pay cut and he's top of the league, so no one on the roster is pretty much above him. So none of that. Let's get this out of the way. Cleveland and every other team can afford to pay everybody. They make a lot of money. Teams make a lot of money, and that's the frustrating part is because why draft and develop good players if you're not going to keep them and play them or pay them? So that even as a fan, even as a player, you kind of get pissed off at that. So it really does range. But no, I think when you come up the ranks and you're in your first 3 or 4 years and the city's grown on you and you've come comfortable with the city and your home and whether you're raising a family there now, you want to stay. You're building something there. Yes, everyone likes the payday and wants to get paid and make that life-changing money. But if you can make that same life-changing money and stay comfortable where you are with the familiar faces who are friends now and family members to you, people want to stay. So it's not automatically assumed that they're going to go elsewhere.
Awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much for taking a few minutes out of your day to join us here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Make sure you check out Jason on Foul Territory with Scott Braun and the rest of that cast. A great baseball show for all baseball fans out there. Jason, thank you so much, man. Enjoy your car and your life.
You guys are awesome, and apology on my end for this taking so long. Appreciate you guys having me.
No
worries. Thank you, Jason. That is the great Jason Kipnis, Cleveland Indians legend and all-time great dude. Couldn't come off better than that, and would love to talk to him again.
Life is going really well.
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing all right. So that means, and we'll talk Bazzana in one sec, but that means between the Bentley and Njoku's Maybach, we've got some pretty damn nice.
I'm telling you.
And Jason's Benz.
that I just seen him flying in here on.
Oh, that's not true.
We've had some
Bent the
pretty
corner,
we've had some
woo.
nice cars on UCSS since the inception.
I got
of
a
the show.
chance to actually get a ride in the Benz.
Ooh, how to drive?
Smooth. It was. We
Your
only
son
went
didn't
across
screw it
the
up?
street, but it was the fastest ride I've ever had in my life.
Did I say on the show that I gave my car?
Yeah, I
to
was
my
gonna say,
son?
did Xander keep it?
I told him. So my son's. Did we talk about this on the show?
Yeah, because you had the rental car.
Yeah, I had the rental car, and I gave him my car, and I said, if you wreck it, just live in it. Don't come home. Just whatever condition it's in, that's where you're gonna be. And he brought it home, and he said, I feel like a red-blooded American male driving that. I think he opened it up and put some miles on it.
Of course he.
What's up, bro?
All right, man, before we talk about Travis Bazzana to wrap up the show, don't forget to catch the Ultimate Guardian show with Zach Mizell and Adam Nabour twice a week, giving you the latest on everything that's going on with our first place Cleveland Guardians. Jason Kipnis talked a lot about Travis Bazzana. He hit his first professional career home run yesterday.
Damn right.
Actually was a grand slam. There's a taco spot across the street from the stadium in Eastlake. Word is that's where the ball landed at.
Yeah, it was cool. Obviously, a lefty on lefty grand slam. The fans that got and caught the home run ball ended up getting a chance to meet Bazzana afterwards. They exchanged some autographs. Bazzana got his home run ball back. Cool all-around experience. But, Jason, this kid on Friday gets an RBI on a fielder's choice. On Sunday, hits a double and a single. On Monday, the game gets rained out. In his first home game at Lake Erie, he does this. It's early, and Lake County captain pitching is not major league pitching, but he's certainly living up to the hype so far.
Are they using wooden bats right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked metal. That's why I was.
No, it's
I was
all wood.
like, I know they ain't doing that.
I hope they don't leave him down here for the rest of the year. Like, get him up to double A.
At least Akron.
Yeah, if you want to start him at single A, fine. Take all the pressure off him. But he's ready for double. And I'm not saying move him today. You give him a couple weeks, whatever. But be aggressive and get him up to double A at least by the end of the year and let him get a look at double A pitching.
Is single A pitching better than like the high level college baseball
I don't know
pitching?
because I was just thinking that in my head. Like, where is single A versus elite SEC pitching?
Well, he was Pac-12. He was an SEC.
But I'm just saying college in general. Elite SEC pitching is better than single A pitching.
I would agree.
I think. That's to me, that's double A, maybe even triple A on
So
some
they
guys.
should have started him in double A.
No,
Not
get his
necessarily.
confidence up. And
You don't have. I mean, if you send him to double A and he gets buried right away, what have you accomplished? So send him to Lake County.
They throw me to the wolves all the time. Throw them to the wolves.
Send him to Lake
Jason's
County.
idea is right.
Get him. Let him. I mean, look,
Sink or swim.
He's already feeling good. Let him get some momentum. Let him get some confidence as a professional
Jason,
baseball player,
sink or
and then
swim.
move him up.
Sink or swim.
Nah, baseball.
Baseball is so mental.
Baseball
you can't do
can
that. Yeah.
bury you. With that game every day you got another game.
That's a lie. Because when I go up against Jay Crawford, even if the first pitch he throw me is a heater, that next one going over the fence. Until we get to 10, it's all.
I'm going to take 1 second. We'll get back to Bazzana in 1 second. Programming note, on August 16th, we are taping UCSS from 10 to 11:30 that day, then taping the WKYC portion after. It'll be an hour early because we have to go film something very special. I'll let you decide what that is, but we have to be there at 1 o'clock to get to the place we're filming, and we're not going to give you all the details till the content comes out, but it may be Tigers versus Jay at a very prominent baseball stadium. Okay, back to Bazzana real quick. He looks the part.
He does.
I mean, he looks the part. I'm not sure if a September call-up's realistic. I think that's
Has that
probably
ever
a
really
pipe dream.
happened?
No, the thing I told Jay was, I mean, Bazzana's older than Junior Caminero was last year, and Tampa Bay brought Caminero up for the last 2 weeks of the season last year in September, and they carried him on the postseason roster.
And how did he do?
He's okay.
Okay.
He's okay.
He had minimal at-bats, like
Yeah.
sporadic, yeah.
Yeah. So, in an absolute best case scenario, he would be up for maybe that because Tampa laid the groundwork and how much these organizations think alike and all do the same thing. I wouldn't predict it. I wouldn't expect it.
Does that? I know you talked something about their clock starting.
So
Does that-
anytime you put on this year, you just keep him out longer next year. So he would not start next year in the majors.
Okay.
He's starting in the minors for sure.
Okay.
But I do think it's realistic for Bazzana to be here by June. I think it's very realistic.
Next year?
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. maybe earlier.
We'll see.
So to me, I kind of was hoping that actually the guy I wanted wound up in Kansas City, Paul DeYoung, who I thought would be.
I saw that, and I
Yeah.
was like, that's Jason's
I mean,
guy.
it's a low cost move that I thought could add some punch to the lineup. But next year, I would think in spring training, Jimenez moves to short to clear the way for Bazzana, and then you either put Tyler Freeman at second for a couple of months or whatever. You can get by with whoever. But I would start Himmy.
Not Angel Martinez.
Maybe him.
Well,
if he's not in center.
One of their 73
Right.
different infield prospects.
Right. So, but I think in the spring is when Himmy would shift to short, give him all spring training to adjust, even though he could do it tomorrow. He'd be fine there tomorrow. But he'll start the year next year as the shortstop, I would imagine. And then second base as a placeholder until they deem Bazzana's ready.
When they made the trade for Jimenez, was he a shortstop at the time?
Yeah. Both him and Rosario were natural shortstops when they made the Lindor
The
trade.
Dodgers
And,
love Rosario.
I know.
too.
I want to mention this one more
I'd
time.
have been
Jason
fine
has
with him
said
coming
it
back.
on the show multiple times. Jimenez is a natural lefty who taught himself to throw righty because
Crazy.
he wanted to play catcher. He was a shortstop to the minors, moved to second base. That moved back to shortstop. On the scale of, are you concerned even the slightest bit to, oh my goodness, it's not going to work? I'm even beyond I have no concern. Literally zero that he could be an elite defensive shortstop essentially tomorrow.
Agree. That's.
That man glove.
I've never quite understood the argument of they're too good where they are to move them. When you talk about and maybe Quan doesn't want to play center, but if Quan's a Gold Glove left fielder, he's going to be fine, and he would be just fine.
And it's a
in
more
center.
premium position too.
Yes, and then you can get a more power bat for the corner, but even they can't even find one power bat, let alone two.
What you mean? You don't,
Baby
you,
steps.
you don't like the 12 home runs out the corner? Ain't he got 12, or is it 11?
11. He's got 11 this
You
year.
don't like the 11?
But I'm just saying, 11 in center looks even better.
They got one in right field if they play him every day, because he got to get to 20 by
Jay Honk, as he calls
Yeah,
it.
he got to
Well,
get
Jay Honk just lost a lot of at bats to Lane Thomas,
Yeah, he did.
unfortunately.
And unfortunately, the stadium's going to cost him 11 home runs over the next 3 years.
But in all seriousness, Bazzana, I mean, it's 3
Why
games.
would you bring that up?
I was just something I noticed. I was actually hoping it would go the other
Just
way.
negative.
I was hoping it would go the other way.
You know what I was negative about? I just seen they dropped the Earl's gonna be mad about this. They dropped the Madden 25 corner rankings.
MJ,
Uh-oh,
I'm assuming
where's
is
MJ?
MJ's not
He's
on.
not on the top 18. But number 8, which I'm just dumbfounded, 8 is Denzel Ward at 90.
Is Sauce Gardner 1?
Sauce is 1, Jalen Ramsey's 2, Patrick Surtain 95, Jair Alexander 93, L'Jarius Sneed 92, Chavarius Ward 91, Marlon Humphrey 91, Denzel Ward 90, Marshawn Lattimore 90. Go Bucks, two Buckeyes back to back. How about that?
Oh, we got any super chats before we wrap this up? And then in overtime, we're talking about Jason Lloyd's, as Earl dubbed it, infamous.
No
Article.
super chats, but shout out to Phil Bowman, who gifted 5 memberships. So again, the article blew up, Jason. I'm not gonna lie to you. Every day this week, the chat has been looking for you. They feel like you've been ducking and hiding.
I was on the beach.
Also, they said, really, Jason not going to address the article. So I reached out to Jason, via text during the segment to see if he wanted to talk about it, and he does. So if you're
I did
not
2
a
segments
member,
this morning on 92.3. Of course we're going to talk about it. I wasn't
you're not
asked.
a
Nobody
member,
asked me.
go sign up for overtime right now, man. We're going to take it 10, 15 minutes. Jason is going to get into the article, why he wrote the article, the feelings behind the article, things like that. So make sure you tune in. Exclusive content for our overtime members.
Real quick, I wasn't hiding from anyone. Just to lay out the timing of this, then we can get into the context of it. The timing on it, I was at the Greenbrier, leaving Sunday morning, meeting my family at the beach. We literally had 4 days of summer this year between the end of swimming and baseball and the start of football and cheer. So we were in Mikey's old neighborhood on the Jersey Shore for 4 days.
Shout out Jersey.
Drove back last night, got back late last night, and here I am today. So I was on vacation for 4 days. I wasn't ducking anybody.
Sounds like he didn't want to smoke.
Whatever.
Actually, no. Of all people that would write an article, Jason would be the first one to stand there and
Can I
meet whoever he wrote about face to
go
face.
pull this article up real quick?
You haven't
Yeah.
read it, have you?
You know what?
You
It's
don't even have an
funny.
athletic subscription, do
The
you?
funny thing is, I looked at it and I had showed it to Earl because it popped up like this, and somebody had tagged Earl, Q, and G. Bush and said, y'all better talk to him. I was laughing right here. Here, girl. Help us out here. And I laughed because I said, oh, Jason must have really struck.
Hey, and my bad on that real quick. Damian Frederick says Judy had 972 yards in 15 games where he left too early in 2022. 1K should happen if, I guess, he and four are healthy, unless Njoku goes for 1K.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Njoku's going to get a lion's share of the targets, too. So they got
We
a lot
got
of
30
mouths to
seconds. The point I'm making, go sign up for overtime. If you want to hear what Jason has to say about the article, go sign up for overtime.
All right, we'll see you there. Peace.
Beautiful book.
It called.